Okay, so I wanted to talk about this whole AlexJones being banned on YouTube thing. I'm gonna preface this by saying I'm not a big fan of his. I'm not, I don't watch him all the time, but I know a lot of people who do, and, I was actually pretty pissed off when I found out that he was banned on YouTube, because that is limiting free speech. I might not always agree with him, but at least I know how to turn off the computer and walk away, or just ignore the website. There's a lot of people out there who's been reporting him down who don't know how to disconnect and don't know how to just turn off the computer and walk away, and it is actually detrimental to everything that we've worked so hard for in this country. This country was founded on free speech and freedom of the press, and he is a citizen of the United States, and he is the press, and quite frankly, I think that limiting what he's saying is ridiculous. It's retarded. You don't need to agree with somebody, you just need to have the common sense to not fuck with them, basically, if you don't agree with them. That's all it boils down to. He has every right to be making his videos. He has every right to be saying whatever he wants to say, because it's a free country, and we shouldn't limit people in what they do or say. And it's all fine and dandy. You don't like what he says, and you think that it's great that he's banned from YouTube, well, that's great, but, you have the right to think that. But then what happens when they come for you? What happens when somebody decides that what you say isn't what they want to hear, and suddenly you're the one getting your YouTube banned? You don't think about things like that. When you open the door for discrimination of this sort, you open the door for discrimination against everybody. You open the door for taking away the rights of everybody. Right now it might just be, let's get rid of some conservative YouTubers. The next thing it might be, let's get rid of some black YouTubers. Or let's get rid of all the white YouTubers because the whites are oppressing the blacks. Or, we don't like how you play this game because it's potentially racist or something towards people because you play the game in a certain way and beat up certain characters, so we're not going to let you have your gaming channel anymore. It just all snowballs. But what it boils down to is the fact that we can't expect the world to pander to our fucked up ideas of what we think the world should be. We can't expect to be coddled. We can't expect to be, just kept in a bubble. Because if we were all kept in a bubble, the world would be boring. If there wasn't differences in opinion, the world would be boring. Everything has an opposite. And I put this in the article that I wrote. Everything has an opposite. You have day and night. You have good and evil, light and dark. Right now it's summer. Soon it's going to be winter. Everything has an opposite. And without those opposites, nature and the world fails. So when we start eliminating the opposites and stop allowing people who are opposite from us to have a voice, to have an opinion, to have their own YouTube channels and their own outlets, then you're making the world a boring and mundane place that nobody's going to want to be in. You have a lot of conservatives that are feeling really, really attacked right now, and you don't seem to care because they have an opposing view from you. They're human beings too. They deserve the rights that you do too. You can't just say that just because somebody thinks differently than you, that you can silence them, because there are plenty of people that have differing opinions that you don't silence, and you're being kind of hypocritical. Like, you might be Christian and you might not agree with Muslims, but you're not trying to silence them. But, you know, when you're saying that you're going to silence Republicans because they don't agree with what you say, or right-wingers because they don't agree with what you say, that's the exact same thing as saying that you don't agree with a Muslim or a black or something like that. It's all people with differing opinions, differing life experiences, differing thoughts. It just makes me really mad when I see what this world is coming to, because we can't keep people in bubbles. We can't stop things that we don't like just because we don't like them, because we are harming the society. You know, first they ban AlexJones from YouTube and Twitter and all that stuff, and then they start banning normal people, everyday people, just for having a conservative view. And then they have this little social media bubble that's all left-wing, you know, that nobody else can feel included in. And then you have a bunch of kids growing up in the world today that maybe don't agree with that, that'll never get to experience social media because their voices have been silenced. You're thinking that these people are fascists. You're the fascists. Don't you understand? That is an incredibly fascist view, to ban and censor people just because you don't agree with what they're saying. And you're no better than the Nazis that you claim that you hate, because that's what the Nazis did. They banned, they silenced, they made people, you know, fit their narrative. They wanted everybody to be the superior white race, and you want everybody to be the superior democratic race or the superior liberal race. I know that AlexJones has said a lot of controversial things. I know that a lot of people disagree with him, like, for instance, on the Bush did 9/11 thing. You know, that's one of the things that I actually personally agree with, is that I think that 9/11 was an inside job. And I consider myself, or I did consider myself, a liberal, but now I can't even consider myself that title at all anymore, because there's so many people on the left that are fucked up in the head that think that censoring is the way to do things. That never used to be what the left was about. You know? I mean, you're all about socialism. It wasn't Hitler a socialist? But you totally forget about that and you say, oh, let's ban the Nazis. Let's punch a Nazi. Let's ban the fascists. You are being Nazis. You are being fascists. I don't understand where it got into people's heads that censoring was a good thing. Because when you censor people's thoughts and opinions and views, then you censor everything that could potentially challenge what you think. And if you don't challenge what you think, then you are, in effect, limiting yourself. Because what happens when something challenges what you think? You start thinking more. And you start thinking of ways to combat what they said. And then you formulate better opinions and more opinions. And maybe you change your mind about stuff. Maybe you go on and you decide, oh, well, I thought one way, now I'm going to think something different because somebody challenged my way of thinking, and I'm going to grow and evolve as a person. For instance, I was very against guns as a child, but as I grew older and I got the need to have protection because of an abusive ex, I decided that I would look into guns and look into the other side. And I listened to what everybody said. And I listened. And I didn't agree with it, but then I took the time and I did the research and I realized that it was valid. That it was worth it, that it was worthwhile to give somebody the benefit of a doubt, and I ended up with a gun for protection. And I'm very glad that I had that, because it made me feel very safe. There's a big fuck-up water fountain over there. I don't know if you can hear it. Trying to talk over it. But yeah, there are things that he says that are very crazy, and there are things that he says that are factual, and there are things that he says that I don't agree with, there are things that he says that I do agree with. And I think that everybody should just let it sort itself out. That trying to take somebody off of a platform because you don't like their voice is just as bad as sitting in a corner as a child, screaming and crying with your fingers in your ears, going, la, 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 I can't hear you. You know, it is a childish behavior. It is a childish mentality. It is a childish way of thinking. I would expect my son, as a child, to behave the way that grown adults are behaving right now. And that is fucking disgusting. That is fucking disgusting when I can see grown adults acting just like small children. I think it's time to change. I think it's time to let him back on YouTube and let him back on his social media platforms. And it's time for you to shut the fuck up and grow the fuck up and accept the fact that there are people with different views in this world.